The mid-19th century marked a pivotal period in Japanese history, characterized by the arrival of Commodore Perry of the United States and the subsequent signing of unequal treaties with Western nations. These events heralded the end of Japan's centuries-long policy of isolation and set the stage for profound political, social, and economic transformations. This narrative explores the background, events, and consequences of this significant chapter in Japan's history. Since the early 17th century, Japan had maintained a policy of national seclusion known as sakoku. Under this policy, initiated by the Tokugawa Shogunate, Japan severely restricted foreign trade and contact with the outside world to preserve its cultural and political integrity. Foreign trade was limited to the Dutch and Chinese, who were confined to the artificial island of Dejima in Nagasaki harbor. Japanese citizens were prohibited from traveling abroad, and those who attempted to return from foreign lands faced execution. In the early 1850s, the United States, driven by the desire for new markets and coaling stations for its expanding navy, sought to open Japan to foreign trade. Commodore Perry was chosen to lead this mission. On July 8, 1853, Perry arrived in Edo Bay, now Tokyo Bay, with a fleet of 4 black ships. His arrival was a dramatic and imposing display of Western naval power, intended to intimidate and coerce the Japanese into negotiations. Perry presented a letter from President Millard Fillmore to the representatives of the Tokugawa Shogunate, requesting the establishment of diplomatic and trade relations. He made it clear that he would return the following year for their response, leaving the Japanese to contemplate their course of action. True to his word, Perry returned to Japan in February 1854 with an even larger fleet. This show of force underscored the seriousness of his mission and the futility of resisting American demands. After several weeks of tense negotiations, the Tokugawa Shogunate, recognizing its military inferiority and the potential consequences of refusal, agreed to the terms proposed by Perry. The Treaty of Kanagawa was signed on March 31, 1854. It marked the end of Japan's isolationist policy by opening 2 ports, Shimoda and Hakodate, to American ships for provisioning and repairs. The treaty also established a U.S. consulate in Shimoda and guaranteed the humane treatment of shipwrecked American sailors. Although it did not include a formal trade agreement, it paved the way for further negotiations. Following the success of the United States, other Western powers, including Great Britain, Russia, and France, sought similar agreements with Japan. The Tokugawa Shogunate, unable to resist the combined pressure of these nations, found itself compelled to accede to their demands. Townsend Harris, the first U.S. consul to Japan, pursued more extensive commercial privileges for the United States, leveraging both diplomacy and the threat of military force. Harris's negotiations culminated in the signing of the Harris Treaty on July 29, 1858. The Harris Treaty opened additional ports, including Kanagawa, Nagasaki, and Niigata, to American trade and granted extraterritorial rights to American citizens, meaning they were subject to American, not Japanese, laws. It also included a most favored nation clause, ensuring that any privileges granted to other countries would also apply to the United States. The unequal treaties placed Japan in a subordinate economic position with fixed low tariffs on imports and exports that favored Western powers. This resulted in a significant outflow of Japanese silver and gold, destabilizing the economy. Japanese industries, unable to compete with cheap foreign goods, suffered, leading to social and economic upheaval. The treaties exposed the weaknesses of the Tokugawa Shogunate, leading to growing dissatisfaction among the samurai class and the general populace. Many saw the shogunate's concessions as humiliating and detrimental to Japan's sovereignty. The shogunate's inability to effectively resist foreign demands fueled the rise of the Sono Joi, revere the emperor, expel the barbarians movement, which called for the restoration of imperial rule and the expulsion of foreign influences. Discontented samurai, marginalized by the shogunate's policies, became increasingly vocal and active in their opposition. Clashes between pro-shogunate forces and those advocating for the restoration of imperial rule culminated in the assassination of Ieyasu Naosuke, chief policymaker of the shogunate in 1860. The culmination of these tensions was the Boshin War, a civil conflict between the forces loyal to the shogunate and those supporting the emperor. The imperial faction, consisting of powerful domains like Satsuma and Choshu, ultimately triumphed. Tokugawa Yoshinobu, the last shogun, resigned in 1867, and Edo Tokyo was surrendered to imperial forces in 1868, marking the end of the Tokugawa Shogunate. The arrival of Commodore Perry and the subsequent signing of unequal treaties were pivotal events that ended Japan's centuries-long isolation and exposed the vulnerabilities of the Tokugawa Shogunate. These events set in motion a chain reaction of economic, social, and political upheaval, leading to the eventual fall of the shogunate. Please join us next time as we examine the events behind the Boshin War. If you liked this presentation, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching.